Hello.
Hello.
Hello. We thought we would do a video about how we met, the story of how we met and fell in love and all those sorts of things. We are currently en route with Churro to my mom's place to help her out with some tech things. And yeah, so the story starts, I was at CBC. I was a host and producer at CBC, and I got quite ill and took some time off. And Jocelyn was one of my fans, original fans.
Not that he knew me.
No.
I'd heard him on the radio when I was at that age, and I enjoyed him and wondered where he was. He'd sort of dropped off the map for a while. And so one day when I found his Tumblr, I was like, oh, it looks like things haven't been great. So I sent him an email, a total stranger, and said, hey, I hope you're okay. We miss your content. I don't know if I called it content. We miss your stuff online. I hope you're okay. This is weird. Sorry. And that was it.
Like an out of the blue, random email, which we only later found out like after we got married, I think, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. Like
when we broke up briefly, we found it.
Yes. And I replied to it. I was delighted to see later that I replied with, thank you so much. Yes, I've not been well, but I'm on the mend, that kind of thing. And then years go by. That was the end of that part of the story. And I used to, when I was a kid, so my mom is a retired Anglican priest. That's Episcopal if you're in the U.S. So, you know, if you're a PK, preacher's kid, as we say in the business, you go to church youth group, because that's what you do. And at youth group, Anglican youth group, when I was a kid, I met this woman named Buffy, girl at the time named Buffy. And I don't think I hung out with Buffy, but years later, after this letter that Jocelyn writes me, so this would have been like
2009?
2007?
10.
Okay. Yeah, that's about right. 2010.
Yeah, 2010.
Someone named Buffy adds me as a friend on Facebook. And I think I was single at the time, so, you know, like, girl checks me out on Facebook, I'll check her out.
Very early days on Facebook.
Yes.
Like, no Facebook dating, just status updates, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. And photos, notably.
Yeah.
And so I didn't remember the name, so I decided to go through the photos to see if I could remember her. And I saw the photos, and I didn't remember her. But in her photos, this cute blonde girl kept showing up. Sometimes with a dog, sometimes with like a Obama pin, sometimes with like just
a bunch of little kids. Like just everywhere. And I eventually pieced together that this was probably this Buffy woman's sister named Jocelyn. And then I must have friended you. No, you started commenting on... This is before you set individual privacy settings on Facebook. And so all these photos that he'd seen that Buffy had either commented on or whatever, he started leaving the cutest, funniest comments on them. And of course, I instantly remember your name. I'm like, is that really Todd Baffin? Commenting on my photos? And so I friended you. I'm pretty sure I had already friended you at that point, like when I recognized that it was you. And again, early days, I wasn't suspicious that it wasn't you, like someone pretending to be you.
Yeah.
And I involved my best friend at the time, who I was like,
that's right.
Look at this nice guy who's commenting on, he's this guy from CBC. I used to listen to his show. And she went into BFF mode and like scoured your photos for signs of marriage.
Yeah.
It was very funny.
Which she thought she found.
Well, actually, she pointed it out to me, and I was like, oh, that's an engagement photo.
Yeah,
I know he was married at one point, so that must be her.
I had been married before, and so so they found a photo of me and my friend Angela, and Angelo, I was behind.
Oh.
Whoa!
Hydroplane.
Turn on the wipers.
They are
Yeah,
on.
okay. Wow, no, we're okay. We just got hit by a big chunk of water. That was weird. So Angela was just a friend, but she was like
she was like hugging me from behind, and her arms were in front, and you could see her actual engagement ring. And the pose looked like an engagement photo for sure.
It totally did.
So, yeah, and then we and you were having hip surgery.
Yes. So then we fast forward a few months, and I didn't use Facebook a ton, and I happened to log on in February. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And I found a post from you saying that you really wanted to go for steak on Main Street, and did anyone want to come with you? But it was like 3 days old, and I was like, oh, I'm so sorry I missed this. I totally would have gone. And you instantly responded. I don't know whether it was DM or not, but I of course did not look back at Facebook for several more days.
Nice.
And
to this day, this is how she treats email.
This was not email. This was
I know.
Facebook. And so anyway, I got. Eventually, we connected, and you invited me out for sushi. And I immediately told my parents. And so we went for sushi, and we closed the place down. We were there for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And you bought me very, very expensive sushi.
I bought what I think it's
delicious.
called omakase, which means something like at the chef's
Discretion.
At the chef's discretion. Basically, you give the chef hundreds of dollars, and the chef makes things for you. And it was delicious. You're right, this is hard to hold for that long period of time. And it was delicious, but yeah, we were there for hours.
And I was so nervous because he's like, do you want to do this omakase thing? And I looked at it, I was like, okay.
And you were about to go into hip surgery.
Oh, yeah. I basically life-changing hip replacement surgery. I'd been really struggling. I can't walk, and so I sit all the time, and I couldn't sit anymore because my hip was so messed up. Part of my hip bone had died and needed replacement, basically. And so I had finally booked that surgery, and we met for that date exactly 7 days before. So as soon as we had that date, I was like over the moon. I was so excited. And then it was like surgical prep, and I was going to be off work for 3 months. And you texted me back and forth while I was in hospital. And then out of the blue, turned out you lived not very far from my rehab hospital. And you came in with cupcakes that you had accidentally stolen from the grocery store.
I was walking through. I was so nervous about visiting you that I just walked around and around to kind of like calm my nerves, and I had a thing of cupcakes, and I walked out the door with them. I went back and paid for them. I felt bad. And then we date, and then we break up, and then we get back together, and then I take you with me to a speech that I was giving in Tofino at the Wickaninnish Inn, and we get there. And I pull you aside and I say, oh, by the way, there's no speech. And you're like, what? I have this on video. I'm just not allowed to show it. And I said...
I'd given you such a hard time about it, too. I was like, you're working too hard.
Yeah, you were not a fan of this fictional speech. And then I proposed. And you said yes.
And it was great.
And we got married in the lobby of your work building, which is a beautiful... I'll show some pictures. It looks like stained glass. It's very modern, super accessible.
And they were very kind.
We had a food truck. We hired a food truck to cater, which was not the best decision operationally, logistically, but it was still super fun.
It was still, there were some external pressures about when we chose our date, and so we decided to get married as soon as we could, because we'd already been together for 3 years, I think, by that point. And we got married in the winter, so it was really rainy and cold, but other than the weather, it was a great wedding, and we had a great time.
2014, we moved to Nanaimo 2018, and so we've been together 15 years, married for 11 and a half.
Holy!
I know. And I think that's the end of our 10 minutes that we have, so I hope you enjoyed. Have a great holiday.